every morning before the world begins to move. There is a sacred moment, a gap between sleep and wakefulness, where your mind is most impressionable, most open, and most powerful. According to Bob Proctor, this moment is not to be wasted. It is the gateway to creation. Your thoughts are the seeds of your reality. The way you think when you first open your eyes sets the energetic tone for your entire day. And more than that, it sets the tone for your entire life. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, Proctor often said. But that vision doesn't come alive by chance. It is built, programmed, impressed on the subconscious through conscious repetition, emotion, and belief. The most successful people do not stumble into greatness by accident. They create rituals, conscious routines that condition the mind for success. Bob Proctor spent over 60 years teaching people the mechanics of wealth and personal transformation, and his message was always clear. You must take responsibility for what you plant in your mind, because the mind, just like fertile soil, doesn't care what you plant. It will return whatever you sow with energy. What if the way you start your day could actually become your greatest advantage? What if, instead of scrolling through your phone or rushing into stress, you took deliberate control of your mental frequency from the moment you woke up? Bob Proctor taught that the human mind is a transmitter and receiver of vibration. When you wake up and immediately affirm your purpose. When you visualize your goal and feel gratitude in every cell of your body, you're not just being positive, you're changing the signal you're telling the universe, and more importantly, your own subconscious. This is who I am. This is what I expect. This is what I'm creating. Your subconscious does not argue. It does not reason. It accepts repeated emotional ideas as truth. This is why morning rituals work, not because they are magical, but because they are mental conditioning. One of the most overlooked truths in personal development is this: you don't get what you want. You are. And who you are is determined by what you habitually think and emotionally internalize. Bob often said, "You were born rich." That wasn't just a catchy phrase. It was a fundamental principle. You came into this world with infinite potential. But from the earliest moments of life, most of us were programmed with limitations. Money is scarce. Success is hard. Life is a struggle. These beliefs are lies, yet they became our reality because they were accepted without question. The good news is, you can reprogram your mind. You can create a new identity, and it begins the moment you decide to stop being a victim of unconscious thinking. Morning rituals are not a luxury. They are the battleground. Every day, when you wake up, you're either reinforcing your old self or giving birth to your new. Here is where the real work begins. Imagine this. The first thing you do each morning is look yourself in the mirror and speak directly to your subconscious, with emotion, with belief, with clarity. You declare your goal, you affirm your power, you express gratitude, you align your thoughts with what you truly want. Bob Proctor would call this alignment with yourself. He said, your self-image sets the boundaries of your life. So if you want to expand your results, you must first expand yourself. And nothing expands it faster than daily repetition of empowering beliefs, especially in the morning. Let's make this tangible. Imagine starting your day like this. You stand in front of the mirror. You look yourself in the eyes. You say, I am the master of my mind. My thoughts create my reality, and I choose abundance. My definite purpose guides every action I take. I act with clarity, courage, and faith. I serve others with love and creativity. I am grateful for everything I have and everything on its way. Every day, I move closer to my goal with persistence and joy. I am tuned to the frequency of wealth and success. Nothing can stop me but my own doubt, and I choose belief. I attract the right people, the right ideas, and the right opportunities. I am responsible for my results, and I am creating something extraordinary. These are not just words. They are blueprints. Repeated over 3290 days with emotion and clarity, they become beliefs. And beliefs, as Bob Proctor always said, are just thoughts you keep thinking. Thoughts you have emotionalized and accepted as true. But what if I don't believe these things yet? You might ask. That's the point. The subconscious cannot reject an idea that is repeated with emotion and consistency. Belief comes after repetition, not before. This is not fake it until you make it. This is train it until it's true. Bob Proctor's teachings always circled back to one central truth. We become what we think about most of the time. And most people spend their mornings thinking about what they don't want, what they fear, what they lack. That's not laziness, that's programming. And you can change it. Start by choosing your thoughts the way you choose your clothes. Intentionally, deliberately, based on the life you want to live. Not the life you've inherited. You see, the mistake most people make is waiting for circumstances to change before they change their mindset. Bob turned that upside down. When you change your mind, everything around you changes. Not because the world suddenly shifts, but because your perception does, and you begin to act, speak, and attract differently. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You are a creator of your reality, but creation starts within. And the greatest time to create is the first hour of your day. There is something almost sacred about a human being standing in front of a mirror, looking themselves in the eyes, and declaring a new identity. That moment, seemingly simple, often skipped, holds the potential to alter the course of a life. But only if it is repeated, only if it is felt, only if it becomes part of who you are. Bob Proctor understood this deeply. He didn't teach theories, he taught practice. And one of his most repeated principles was this: you don't change your life by changing what you do once. You change it by what you do consistently. The world has conditioned people to believe that transformation is dramatic, that it happens in a single moment of inspiration. But Bob would argue the opposite. Transformation is subtle, almost invisible. It happens through the quiet, disciplined practice of doing the same empowering thing every day, especially when no one is watching, especially when the results haven't shown up yet. That's the test. Can you speak abundance into your life even when your bank account disagrees? Can you declare courage while still feeling afraid? Can you express gratitude in the absence of visible progress? If you can, you're already winning, because your outer world is always playing catch up to your inner world. You must be before you can do, Bob Proctor said, and you can do only to the extent that you are. That means your rituals must be about becoming, not performing. You're not saying affirmations to impress anyone. You're not meditating to feel spiritual. You're doing it because you're building the inner framework for the person you intend to be. Let's go deeper. Your self-image, the internal blueprint of who you believe yourself to be, determines everything. Your income, your relationships, your opportunities, even your level of happiness. The tragedy is that most people never consciously choose their... It was handed to them by others, by teachers, parents, culture, experiences. But Bob Proctor taught that you can upgrade this image, you can rebuild it, you can create a new identity that aligns with your desires instead of your history. And that's exactly what these morning rituals are designed to do. When you wake up and speak new truths, when you affirm, visualize, feel, and act as the person you want to be, you are no longer living by default. You are creating by design. You are sending new commands to your subconscious, new instructions to your emotional body, new frequencies to your environment. You are no longer reacting. You are leading. But to lead your life, you must first lead your mind. Here's the truth that most avoid. It is hard to change, not because the steps are complicated, but because the mind resists the unfamiliar. It clings to old patterns, even destructive ones, simply because they are known. This is why Bob emphasized paradigms, the mental programs that govern your behavior, usually without your awareness. Morning rituals are how you interrupt those paradigms. They are how you install new mental software. Every time you speak a powerful truth in the morning, even if it feels strange, you are chipping away at the old identity and replacing it with a new one. It's not about pretending, it's about planting. Think of it this way. A farmer doesn't expect fruit the day after planting a seed, but they water it anyway. They care for it daily without needing proof that it's growing. They trust the process because they understand the law. Bob Proctor lived by these laws. He taught the law of vibration, the law of attraction, and the law of compensation, not as metaphysical curiosities, but as practical tools. He said, you are always moving towards something or away from it based on your vibration. And your vibration is determined by how you feel. Not occasionally, but habitually. That's why starting your day in gratitude matters. Not because it's nice, but because it's powerful. Gratitude shifts your vibration instantly. It tells the subconscious, I live in abundance. And the subconscious, being obedient, begins seeking evidence to support that belief. So before you check your phone, before you consume the world's noise, sit in silence. Take a deep breath and say, with presence, thank you. not for what's coming, not for what you want, but for what already is. Bob once said, gratitude hooks you up to your source of supply. He wasn't being poetic, he was being literal. When you are in the state of gratitude, your body relaxes, your mind opens, and you become receptive to new ideas, opportunities, and inspired actions. You move from survival to creation. And here's something else few people understand. Morning rituals aren't just about preparing your mind. They're about shifting your identity into alignment with your goal. If your goal is wealth, you must begin thinking, feeling, and acting like a wealthy person now. Not someday. Not when the money comes. Now, because the money only comes to match the vibration you heal already on. Bob Proctor taught that money is an effect, not a cause. The cause is always in the mind, the way you see yourself, the way you see the world, the way you think when no one is watching. So here's a challenge. Tomorrow morning, wake up 1 hour earlier than usual. Use that hour not to hustle, but to create, to align, to speak, to feel, to listen. Use it to shape your mind into a magnet for the life you want. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel ready. You only need to begin, because repetition, emotion activates, and decision creates momentum. Bob Proctor believed that the decision to act when made with clarity sends a signal that reshapes your world. Not metaphorically, physically. Your perception shifts, your behavior shifts, and therefore your results shift. The mistake people make is waiting until they feel confident to start, but confidence is a result, not a requirement. You don't wake up with belief, you build it. And the building begins the moment you stop negotiating with your old self and start affirming the new one. Even 5 minutes a day, done with sincerity, can break years of mental programming. You are not your past. You are not your bank balance. You are not your fears. You are potential in motion, and you decide what direction it moves in. There comes a moment, quiet, often invisible to others, when you begin to realize that everything you've been waiting for is not waiting for you. It's waiting for your alignment, your clarity, your decision. Bob Proctor said, you have been gifted with something no other form of life has the ability to choose. That choice is the foundation of every transformation. And the most powerful choice you make is how you show up for yourself each day. This is where ritual becomes revolution. The way you begin your day is not a side note. It's the strategy. It's the training ground where the war between your old paradigms and your new identity is either lost or won. Bob spoke frequently about the stick person diagram, a simple but profound representation of how the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and body are connected. According to him, your conscious mind is the gateway. It chooses the thoughts. But only through repetition, emotion, and belief do those thoughts pass into the subconscious and become part of your identity. So think about this. What thoughts are you feeding your mind each morning? Are they chosen or recycled? Are they empowering or reactive? Most people wake up and unconsciously reinforce lack, fear, doubt, and mediocrity, not because they want to, but because that's what their programming defaults to. They check the news, scroll through social media, remember yesterday's problems, and unknowingly re-enter the same frequency that created the results they claim to want to escape. Bob Proctor would say, if you want to change your results, you have to change the frequency you're on. That means you cannot afford to start your day passively. You cannot let the world decide your vibration. You must create it intentionally, ritualistically. Here's the truth. Morning rituals are a form of mental hygiene. Just as you brush your teeth to clean your mouth, you must clean your mind from the residue of doubt, fear, and limitation. Otherwise, your day will be run by yesterday's beliefs. It's not enough to hope things will get better. Hope, as Bob said, is not a strategy. Clarity is, commitment is, repetition is. And that brings us to another principle, persistence. Persistence is not forcing. It's not grinding yourself into exhaustion. It's the quiet, consistent return to your vision, especially when it feels like nothing is changing. Bob taught that your current results are not a reflection of your potential. They are simply a reflection of your old thinking. And since thinking creates beliefs, and beliefs create behavior, your job is to persist with the new thinking, even when your physical world hasn't caught up. Every time you wake up and affirm your goal with emotion, even if the outer circumstances seem unchanged, you are sending a new instruction to your subconscious. You are building a new paradigm. You are programming your system to operate from faith instead of fear. Bob Proctor believed that faith is the ability to see the invisible and believe in the intangible until it becomes physical. And the bridge between faith and results is action, not inaction-inspired, aligned, persistent action. So what does that look like? It means that after you declare your affirmations, you listen. You feel, you ask, what step can I take today that aligns with my purpose? And then you act. Not because you know the whole plan, but because every act of faith expands the path. The mistake most people make is waiting for motivation. Bob was clear on this. Motivation is temporary, decision is permanent when you decide who you are, when you declare it every morning and act in harmony with that decision. You don't need motivation. You have momentum. And here's a deeper truth. Your ability to persist has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with your image. If you see yourself as a person who gives up, you will. If you see yourself as someone who follows through, you will. The body always follows the dominant image in the mind. So what image are you reinforcing each morning? Every affirmation, every act of gratitude, every visualization session is shaping that image. Bob often said, your self-image controls your behavior, and your behavior controls your results. That means the real work is not to chase results, but to upgrade the image. And you do that by practicing being the person who already has what you desire. Ask yourself, how would I stand if I already succeeded? What would I wear? How would I speak? What thoughts would dominate my mind? How would I feel walking into this day? Now, embody that, not in the future. Now, because this is how you collapse the timeline between desire and manifestation, one of Bob's most radical teachings was this: everything you want is already here. Not metaphorically, literally. The ideas, the people, the money, the opportunities, they exist. The only reason you can't see them is that you're not tuned to that frequency yet. Just like a radio cannot pick up a frequency, it's not set to, you cannot attract something you're not aligned with. And that alignment begins in the mind, in the morning, in the space between waking up and stepping into the world. That's why the early hours are sacred. They're the time to raise your frequency, to set your vibration, to speak truth into your subconscious with full emotional intensity. Bob warned, don't let your outside world dictate what's going on in your inside world. Because the outside is always the echo. The real creation happens inside, and the world reflects it back. So make your morning a fortress. Turn it into a sacred space where your vision is more real than your current reality, where you don't negotiate with fear, where you don't entertain doubt, where you decide over and over who you are, and then act from that place. Because it's not enough to just think differently. Thinking must lead to doing. Otherwise, it's just mental entertainment. Bob was never interested in just sounding wise. He wanted people to move, to take ownership, to change. So here's your mission. Don't just admire your goals, live them. Don't just visualize abundance. Organize your life like it's already here. Don't just talk about purpose. Align your time, energy, and relationships with it. Morning by morning, this is how you become the person who no longer hopes for change but causes it. There's a reason so few people achieve extraordinary success, even though the principles are simple. It's not because they don't want it. It's not because they're not capable. It's because they don't persist through the invisible phase, the part where results haven't shown up yet, but the work is being done. Bob Proctor understood this better than anyone. He knew that transformation always begins in the unseen. The moment you commit to a goal, truly commit, you shift something at a vibrational level. But for that shift to manifest into results, it must pass through the test of repetition, of emotional loyalty, of unwavering discipline. And that's what the morning ritual is really about. It's not a task on a checklist. It's not a moment of positivity. It's a daily contract with your future self. A promise to think, feel, and act like the person who already has what you desire, no matter what the current results say. Bob would say, your current results have nothing to do with your potential. They are a reflection of your past thinking. This is why he insisted that we study ourselves. Not just books, not just mentors, but ourselves. What do you believe? What do you say to yourself when no one is listening? What frequency are you living on? The real secret is not out there. It's within. You've been conditioned for years. Some beliefs have been running in your subconscious since childhood. Beliefs like, I'm not good enough, money is hard to earn, people like me don't succeed. It's too late for me. These thoughts were never yours. They were planted, but the mind, powerful and loyal, accepted them, and it's been playing them back as truth ever since. Bob taught that you can replace those beliefs, but not through logic, not through willpower, only through emotional repetition. That's why your morning declarations must be felt, spoken with intention, not read flatly, but declared with energy, with certainty. Because when you speak with emotion, you override the old programming. The subconscious doesn't care if something is true or false. It only responds to repetition and emotion. So when you say, I am worthy of success, even if you don't believe it yet, if you say it daily with emotion, your subconscious begins to accept it. And once it does, your behavior starts to change automatically. That's when you begin to notice the shift. You walk differently, you speak with more conviction, you say no to things that drain you. You say yes to opportunities that once scared you. This is how your world starts to bend, not through luck, but through inner alignment. Now, here's something Bob emphasized that most people miss. You must be of service. Success is not just about affirmations or mindset. It's about contribution, about doing something of value. The law of compensation, he said, clearly states the amount of money you earn is always going to be in direct ratio to three things: the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you. So ask yourself, what value am I bringing to the world? Am I solving problems, lifting people, improving something around me? Am I growing in my craft or coasting in comfort? The most powerful mornings are not only they are also about preparing to give, to serve, to create. Gratitude aligns your frequency and service channels that energy outward, because energy that only moves inward stagnates. Energy that flows outward multiplies. This is the paradox of wealth. The more you give, sincerely, intelligently, and with faith, the more you receive. Bob taught that money is a reward for service rendered, not struggle, not effort, not time, but value. So every morning, after your affirmations, your gratitude, your visualization, ask, how can I serve today? That one question asked daily will open doors. Nothing else can. It activates your purpose. It aligns your energy. It clears your path. And don't wait to feel ready. Bob Proctor was clear. Readiness is a decision. If you want to grow, if you want to earn more, if you want to live the life you've been imagining in your mind, decide to begin to. Not when the fear disappears, but in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting in harmony with your purpose, even when fear is present. And your purpose, contrary to popular belief, is not hidden from you. It's the thing that excites you, the thing you can't stop thinking about, the thing you did for free just because it lights you up. Bob once said, discipline is giving yourself a command and following it. That's what your morning ritual is. Command, a line drawn in the sand, a declaration. I will no longer live by default. I will live by design. And yes, there will be resistance. The old paradigm will try to pull you back. You'll feel tired. You'll feel silly. You'll feel like it's not working. But if you persist, if you keep showing up, something shifts. And suddenly, what felt like effort becomes your new normal. The affirmations become beliefs. The beliefs become habits. The habits become results. And the results confirm what you already knew, that you were always powerful. You just had to stop forgetting. So here's what you must remember. You are the architect of your reality. Your mind is your greatest tool and your greatest responsibility. Morning rituals are not motivational. They are reprogramming tools. Wealth, health, success, they all respond to vibration, not effort alone. Your job is to align, affirm, act, and serve every single day. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You are not too late. You are waking up. And each morning gives you a new chance to write the script of your life with intention, with clarity, and with power. Look in the mirror tomorrow morning and say, I am responsible. I am ready. I am becoming, and then live that truth. Not just with words, but with choices. Because as Bob Proctor taught, the moment you take full responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you claim the power to change anything. It's not magic, it's law. If this message resonated with you, if something inside you awakened, even just a little, then you already know This isn't just a video. It's a signal, a reminder of who you truly are and what you're truly capable of. Now it's your turn to decide to rise. Decide to think on purpose. Decide to step into the life that's been waiting for you. And if you're ready to continue this journey, to master your mind, reprogram your paradigms, and align with the frequency of abundance, then this channel was made for you. Subscribe now and join a growing community of thinkers, doers, and creators who are no longer living by default, but by design. New videos every week to fuel your vision, deepen your belief, and remind you of the power already within you. Because, as Bob Proctor said, you are God's highest form of creation. Act like it. Welcome to your next chapter. Let's build it together.